Hi, I'm Margaret, and this is Machine Elements class. This is a second-year class where we're going to look at various kinds of components that you might use to transmit power in a machine. So gears, belt drives, roller chains, linkages, cams, and then various ways you might fasten these components, welding, different kinds of bolts, and then a quick look at some kinds of materials, different kinds of metals and plastics and bearings. So this picture at the top happens to be a cam. Let's go through this class. Hopefully you are pretty familiar with, or you're somewhat familiar with how Moodle classes are set up, so I don't want to bore you with lots of review here. Just want to remind you that our syllabus and our syllabus schedule are here at the top. Let's look at those right now, if you don't mind. So here is the syllabus. This is basically the policies for the class. Here is my email address, and this is the way to communicate if you're having individual issues with something or other. You can't figure out how to do a belt drive chart, or your weld symbols are looking funny or whatever. Email me, and we can talk by email, or we can set up a Zoom meetings and we can share our screen with each other and have a look at what's going on. Then the book for the class, I say required in air quotes. It's not really required. I will give you everything you need to be successful in this class. So you don't really need to buy this book, which is fabulously expensive. But if you have some kind of financial aid that will buy a book for you, then do go ahead and get it. It's a thorough book. It has some annoying qualities, but never mind that. And this is the same book that we use in several other classes: mechanical drafting, electrical, hydraulics, mechanical design. So there you go. There's that. And all this language here is probably familiar to you. Forgive me for zipping through here, because I really want to go talk about our schedule. I just want to highlight, make sure that you really do stay in touch with your advisor once a term to make sure you're on track and doing everything in the right order and so forth. All right, let's look at our schedule. So that's this thing right here, syllabus schedule, and it's in an Excel spreadsheet. Here it is. So we have a packed term. This is a fairly technical class, and two things. Well, first I want to say, I want to point out that there are a lot of drawings here. Do not be alarmed, but there are a lot of drawings. And I have tried to front load the term so that you get your drawings to be working on in the first half of the term. There are no due dates, except that everything has to be done by Monday of finals week. So you can work at whatever speed is good for you. These drawings they're all technical and they all take time, and I really encourage you to get on them as soon as you possibly can. Do the week 1 stuff in week 1, do the week 2 stuff in week 2. Don't get behind, because there's a lot of drawing work here. I have built several work days into the term. After we have some drawings assigned, then I throw in a work day, and there are a couple of holidays that are can also function as work days. The way it's set up, we'll start the first half of the term looking at a subject called kinematics, which means how things move. So we'll look at different kinds of gear drives, V-belt drives, roller chain drives. Then we're going to pause the kinematics and stick in some welding stuff. And the reason for that is you're going to draw a table that uses weld symbols, and I want to make sure you have plenty of time to get that table drawing done. So we'll start that in week 4, so you have plenty of time. Also, we're going to do a revision to your table drawing in week 8. So I wanted to start the table early in the term so that you have time to finish it and then do your revision later in the term. Then we'll come back to a couple more kinds of kinematics, actually 3 more kinds. So linkages, cams, pulleys. Then we'll switch to some more kinds of fastening. We've already talked about welding. Now we'll look at bolts and some rules for bolts. We'll look at non-threaded fasteners, like pins and so forth. Then we'll come down to the end of the term and we'll think about what are those funny numbers that people use to describe kinds of metals. What is A36, what is 1040, and all that kind of stuff. A couple of days on plastic molding in case you run into that, and then we'll wrap up with an overview of bearings, seals, and greases and oils. So there's the layout of the thing. Also, when we're talking about kinematics, things that are power transmission devices like gears and belts and so forth, we are also required to put guarding on those things because they're dangerous. And so at the end of week 2, we'll stop and we'll pop in a discussion of guards. Then these devices might all be driven by some kind of motor. Usually it's an electric motor. It's good to know how we describe those and how we select them. And so here at the end of week 3, we will talk about electric motors. All right, so there's all of that. Let's come back to our Moodle class now. So all of that is available for you week by week, and all of the weeks are available to you, so you can work as fast as you want to. You can click down one of these arrows and it will open up that week, and you can see here in week 1, the first thing we're going to do is this introduction forum, which is your first assignment. I'm going to come up here and click on the introduction forum. So that is where you introduce yourself, and I know for sure that you do intend to take this class so you don't get dropped. That's what that's about. All right. So back to week 1. There are, when you click on one of these subjects here, there is a link to a PowerPoint and a link to a YouTube video talking about the PowerPoint. Then, after you have looked at that PowerPoint and video, then go ahead and do whatever the assignments are. So in this first day, there's a quiz. In the second day, we'll talk about spur gears with straight teeth, and then here's a drawing assignment for spur gears. In the third day, we're going to talk about attaching gears and sheaves and sprockets using keys and keyways. So here's a stuff about keyways. Here's a drawing, and you will notice when you look at the drawing assignment, it will say, open the drawing, blah, 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 key seats. Oh, so here is that drawing, blah, 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 key seats. So I've already set up the drawing for you. You just have to open it and add some dimensions, so on and so forth. Oh, the hamburger, lest we forget. Two things about finding stuff in Moodle. Over here on the left side of the page, if you click that, what they call the hamburger, that's where you can find this menu stuff, looking up your grades and all that sort of thing. And then over here on the right side, here are some links to things like the student help desk if you need help with your computer or your connection, stuff about how to use Zoom and other kinds of things. I want to say one other thing about this jam-packed class. I want to remind you that you have access to a Google shared drive. I'm going to click this here. I'm going to make sure that you still have access to this. So when you come into Google Drives, you'll see this shared drive thing here. I'll click down this arrow. And one of the shared drives that you have is a thing called LCC drafting courses. I have put the materials for every single drafting course at Lane in here, and it's in here right now. And you can go, well, let's look at this class. So here's Machine Elements, that's this class. So I'll click on that. There's the syllabus and the schedule. I'll click the down arrow. Here are all the assignments that go with it, including any drawings that you need to open. Here are all the lectures. There are PowerPoints. I have put the link to the YouTube videos, just pasted it into these Word documents. So what I want to say is, after the term is done and Moodle closes up and you don't have access to Moodle anymore, you will still have access to this Google Drive forevermore as long as you still have your LCC email address. And if you lose that, just send me an email and if you have some other email address, I'll add that. So feel free to make use of these resources. Download to your computer anything that you think might be useful for you. When you get to the end of the term, if you're missing something, come back to this Google Drive and get it. So I think that's all I want to say about this class. Let's be sure to stay in touch, and you be sure to stay up to date. Don't get behind. Keep working on those drawings. Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to say. It says this in the syllabus. I forgot to mention this. So when you're doing these drawings, the drawings, as it says in here under the assignments, the drawings are mechanical type drawings, and so they need to adhere to the ASME standards that you have already learned in mechanical drafting class. So I am like the checker in your company, or maybe I'm like your supervisor in your company, and I'll be checking your drawing for correctness and also to be sure that you are following the correct dimensioning guidelines and any other kind of guidelines. So make sure that you remember what these guidelines say. And if you're fuzzy, come on back to the Google Shared Drive and go back to the mechanical drafting class and open up the lectures that go with mechanical drafting and review those and make sure you know how big text is supposed to be and how far away from the object it's supposed to be and that kind of good stuff. All right, I think that's it for now. Let's stay in touch, and I hope you enjoy this subject. I think it's pretty interesting, and you will come out of this with a lot of technical skills. So bye for now.